We're back from Aveda Congress. I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain community. And who's the luckiest hairdresser in the world? You know it's me. I get to hang out with all the best hairdressers. Some of them are my dearest friends. Today I'm hanging out with one of my oldest friends, one of the most talented dudes I know, Mr. Ricardo Dennis. He's the global director for haircutting for Aveda. He's just coming off an incredible stage presentation yesterday with the whole global team, cutting, coloring, styling, a whole kind of concept of, I believe you guys call it worldhood, which I want to hear about that. And again, I hope you guys have lots of questions for Ricardo, because besides all that, he's an incredible teacher and he loves to kind of give you those in-depth answers that you're looking for. Today's working on this really cool undercut bob on his gorgeous model, Rachel. Say hi, Rachel.
Hi.
And of course, Rachel's a hairdresser. She was here for Congress. She graduated from school not too long ago, and we'll talk to her, get to know her a little bit, hear about her Congress experience. But without further ado, let's get into the man's haircut.
What's up, guys? It's an absolute pleasure always to be with you guys. So, yeah, so with Rachel's little haircut, I'm kind of going for, I guess the term that they play around with is like this sort of micro bob. And my whole thing right now is I'm really into these sort of undercut bobs, only because it just gets rid of the restriction that you might have with the hairline. You know, I love this type of look. I love hitting these points of the jawline, really putting a lot of emphasis on the lips. She's got a really beautiful face. So what I'm gonna take you guys through is basically how to, I guess, kind of layer the shape and retain a good portion and weight in order to, you know, keep the outline there. So we're gonna start right through the back. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. And I'm basically just going to be lifting this, so Rachel's just gonna fight the tension here. What you'll see me do is I'm just gonna lift this up. We'll come through, start off with a layer here. And then just as we start to work down, I'm just gonna sort of start to angle my fingers here and just get into a length that will just literally taper and just sit just above that undercut. And so we're just gonna give it a little comb. I think that will be quite nice, maybe just a touch shorter. So we're gonna go back in, because essentially that first guide's the most important. So again, we're gonna lift up, we'll remove that weight, and then again, just come down, really kind of following, I guess, the head shape in a way. That's its own sort of natural curvature.
Ricardo, what are some of the tips for getting that right length? So you've done your undercut, and you're coming up here to set in this guideline.
Yeah.
It could be kind of a guessing game.
Absolutely.
What are some tips you can share?
I think cutting a guideline is always a little bit of a guessing game. I think with something like this, I'm kind of looking for the hair to sort of rest in the right place. So I kind of cut it and watch the way it sits. And I actually generally want my shape actually looking very similar when it's wet to the way I want it dry. So for me, it's really just watching that bevel in the hair and making sure that I know that it's going to work, you know, cut-wise, rather than having to figure out the blow dry, make it work.
All right, Ricardo, your audience is growing quickly, which is
right.
great. We're so glad to have all you guys here. If you're just joining us, I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain community. We are live and direct from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We are at the 40th anniversary of Aveda. This is their Congress. It's a global gathering of the Aveda tribe from all over the world. We've had over 5,000 attendees. Rachel, who's our beautiful model, you've got friends on here saying hi.
Oh, my
the girls
goodness.
from Salon 511, is that right?
That's where I work,
All right.
yes.
Big up. Rachel's one of the hairdressers here attending this incredible event. Of course, we're with Ricardo Dennis, and he's presenting his new collection with the Aveda Global team. And we're very, very fortunate to have in the house the global creative director for the whole brand of Aveda, Mrs. Antoinette Binder. She did an incredible show last night, really celebrating everything that Aveda is about. And we thought we can't pass up an opportunity, first for a hug, because we're old friends,
Hi, everyone.
and second to just say hello. Hello to the massive.
Hello, everybody at Hairbrained. What a weekend. I mean, I know you're not here, but you're kind of here with us, so thanks for sending all the love. We appreciate it. We've got my hairdresser is doing a haircut here, okay? He's my hairdresser. I'm very protective of him. He's amazing. And
It doesn't get more intimidating than this right now, guys.
come on.
That's it.
He's such a beautiful haircut, Ricardo. It's amazing. So anyway, I hope some of you have been following what we've been doing over the weekend. We're just having a major hair blast here in Minneapolis. So if you didn't make this one, be sure you make the next Congress, because honestly this happens every couple of years and it truly is a phenomenon, I think, within our industry. So we're just having great fun, doing great hair, and You know what? I'm so glad you guys are with us right now. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. Thank you for
Thanks,
the beautiful presentation last night, full of inspiration.
Thanks.
Guys, go out and check out all the content from all the amazing things that Antoinette did last night. All I have to say is there were butterflies everywhere. You'll love it. You'll love it. All right, back to Ricardo, back to the haircut. Now, guys, I'm manning the phone here. Any technical questions that you have, let's hear them. Let's give some shout outs. Let's show some love. I know he's got a lot of friends watching. In a minute, I'll give you guys some shout outs, but let's get back to the cut.
Okay, so what's happening now is I've kind of gone, from the back and I'm working to the sides, and if you can see, I'm really kind of starting to raise my elevation quite a bit as I start to approach the sides. And the reason for this is really trying to carry some of that graduation and actually some of the layer at this point in towards the front so that it actually doesn't remain so solid and so heavy. So this is a great way of, getting rid of some of the weight and also flattening out the profile so that when you look at it, you don't feel like there's loads of weight in that area. Okay, it's also helping me to just maintain and keep that length there. There's not a lot of over direction happening here. I'm really just working to the previous, and then, again, you sort of gone from this angle here, and we're just raising that up all through the sides here.
So a couple shout outs from some of our community. We've got Patricia Lynn Loss. We always appreciate your support. Our good buddy Douglas McCoy says great work as always, Ricardo.
Thank you, sir.
We've got Marek Borges from, I don't know how you pronounce that, Ljubljana. I'm not sure what country that's in, but let us know, Marek. We've got Ivan Duda watching, who's a great friend of ours, giving a big shout out. Stephanie Ann, hi Congress, love you. Your mom is watching too, by the way. You want to say hi to your mom?
Hi, Mom.
Right on. If you're just joining us, we're backstage here, so if you hear any noise in the background, that's some of the models milling through. There's some photo shoots going on behind us. But we grabbed this man, Ricardo Diniz, for a little intimate moment where he can share some of his incredible cutting techniques. Now, yesterday, you guys, your whole team, it's you and Ian and B and Janelle. You guys did a presentation on stage as the global artistic team for Veda. It was called Worldhood. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, Worldhood for us was a sort of concept and presentation that was, I called it an expression of now. And we've been, really fascinated, I think, coming from a place where I remember that the digital world kind of not being as strong of a force it is right now. And so we were kind of really inspired by, one, what's been happening on social media, how we're all connected, and also thinking about social media as really being, the center for visual culture right now, and also what is the evolution of that. And, it's like, why are people posting what they're posting? What is the style of photography or imagery right now? And so the conversation was really about, thinking, what is happening online? How can we capture people's attention and imagination? And we kind of feel that right now, with what people are doing, it's very much about doing things that feel wrong, but sometimes when you put them together, it kind of makes it right. And so we found that really interesting. So the whole collection is this super strong, very sort of clashing, hyper sensorial, crazy colors, strong fringes, strong cuts. And then the thing with the wardrobe is we actually made our wardrobe. I kind of spent a good couple months in New York going to vintage shops and buying stuff that were really cool pieces or old vintage pieces with fantastic colors. And then we kind of put the stuff together, and then we just started, basically embellishing everything with anything that we had at home, anything that we found in flea markets. I had a real sort of toy inspiration, so I was going into Brooklyn and buying all this sort of throwaway toys, and myself and my wife actually helps make a lot of the sort of key pieces in jewelry. So it was just this whole sort of DIY, sort of craft collection. If you go to my Instagram, you can see a lot of the imagery specifically in my stories right now. So super cool, a lot of fun. I just think it's about what's happening right now. And
All right, Ricardo, your audience is growing wonderfully. Everybody loves you. You're so handsome.
Oh,
Your model's so
man.
pretty. I actually even got a compliment. Patricia says I look good. I try not to get too close to this guy because it makes me look, not that good because he's so handsome. That Latin beauty, Mr. Portugal.
You can thank my mother.
Yeah. So I want to just let everybody know what's going on. If you're just joining us, we are here at the Aveda Congress. It's actually a very special one. It's the 40th anniversary. We're backstage. We've got this little corner with the maestro over here. So if you hear any noise in the background, it's models milling through and photo shoots going on. We'll try to talk nice and loud. We'd love to hear your questions. Lots of love. Thank you for expressing all that love. We're here with Ricardo Dennis, who's the global creative director for haircutting for the brand, which is, let's talk a little bit about that role. Within that role, what are some of the things that you do? And then, why don't you get back into the technique first, because this is developing beautifully.
Okay, so what I've just done is I've just taken a vertical section right through the center. I've kind of taken a portion of the top. I've over-directed that section back. I've connected it in with my sort of shortest little sort of layer there. And then what we've done is we've just carried that guide over. We're working from short to long. I just kind of want to use this as a guideline to now approach it this way. We're now going to go into more of like a concave, using the shorter length in the center, but allowing the lengths to be disconnected on top of what I've actually just cut. So this is a great way of just adding another sort of element of weight, but also a nice little sort of design where you can get some shorter pieces now sitting on top of what you've already cut. And again, this is just a great base for doing this. You could do longer versions of this too. You can do this as kind of like a lob. For those of you who are working in a salon and possibly don't have someone to take this that short. So, the ability to customize it for yourself in the salon is sort of limitless.
Ricardo, how important is tension? I notice, you really comb it really cleanly, and then your fingers, I can just see that the hair is... Talk about tension. I think it's maybe one of those things people miss.
Well, it kind of affects your cutting line, or the characteristic of your cutting line. It's kind of like a fancy way of saying, well, what's it going to do to the ends of the hair? So tension kind of affects your penmanship, I guess, in hair cutting. And for me, I just feel like I want to pull it because I want to make, the section so tight that when I connect or blend things, I want the kind of hair to spring back and just have this immediate blend. So for me, tension is like super important. It's also something that, I've pretty much spent a good portion of my career trying to develop that. I actually have a great tip for the young hairdressers out there when it comes to tension. I think the main thing with people, what they have to understand is that when we first start hair cutting, we'll actually start with the hand very, very open that way. And you can actually feel the lack of tension when you do this. And so the thing is with hair cutting, you want to kind of think about creating a fist and sticking those fingers up from there. I call this the hair cutting fist, because what it helps to do is by closing in your hand, you're helping to strengthen your tension. And I would say for young hairdressers, if you can just immediately start to do that, it will greatly, greatly change the way your technical approach is to hair cutting and the effect that you're having, specifically around techniques like graduation, which can be very difficult to sometimes get that blend.
So Ricardo, lots of people are just joining us. I'm going to add on to that question because Jacinta had a great question about the dampness of the hair.
Oh, okay.
What's your thought here? Do you feel like you need to keep her hair really wet? Are you letting it dry?
Yeah, I think depending on, that's a great question. Depending on the texture of hair, you don't want something sort of sopping wet, because what that will do is actually change the structure of hair as well. There are times where you may be going for possibly like a smoother finish and the hair may be very wiry. That type of hair, I generally do like to work with it a little bit more saturated. Sometimes I'll even put something in like a cutting lotion just to kind of give it a smoother feel. But generally with like hair like Rachel's, it's pretty straight. It's got a beautiful bend. The hair is kind of like the type that really cooperates with the way you cut it. So for me, the type of saturation here doesn't have to be so extreme where it's dripping. It's more just for control. Water is a great substance to be able to just, control the hair. It gives you a lot more grip in what you're doing. It helps with your tension. And I think for me, I like dry cutting, but I do believe that you know, that wet stage of putting your shape in is highly, highly important. Thanks for that question, guys.
Yeah, there are also lots of questions around scissors or shears.
Of course.
You know, what do you prefer and what are you using? And just in general, maybe share your thoughts on choosing the right scissor shear for the job.
You know, I think sometimes people are basing their scissor off price. And of course, price absolutely affects the quality of the blade. But I think there's some great brands out there that are sort of cheaper and they're great scissors. I also believe that it's just about what you feel works in your hand. I think, you know, the best scissor that you use is the one that you use. So you don't necessarily have to think, you know, I've got to get the most expensive shear. It's the one that you generally go to. And I sometimes use really cheap shears.
Yeah, it's just about the balance and what feels good.
Yeah, just
in
what
your
feels
hand.
good. I feel like it's like a, you know, it's kind of like a shoe.
Awesome. Just the one that fits the best.
Yeah, exactly, you know.
All right, so if you're just joining us, and I know you are because the numbers keep skyrocketing of people watching, I'm Gerard Scarpese. We're here for HB Live 283. Yeah. Ricardo has been one of my best friends for over 25 years, and we're going to actually dress up together for Halloween. We've got a tent. So be on
Better
the lookout.
tune in for that.
Be on the lookout for what we have planned. He's doing this beautiful haircut on Rachel. Say hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Yeah, they had some undercutting, some graduation, some layering, some extended layering through the top. All done just beautiful and seamlessly. Now it looks like you're moving into the drying stage,
Yeah.
so I'm going to let you take over here and tell us what you're using.
So really, I just want to, use this brand new product from Aveda. It's called Speed of Light. For hair cutters out there, this is amazing for me because it's supposed to just help the whole process. You know, so us hair cutters out there who love blow drying are going to love this product because it's just going to speed up the process. And I think it's a great thing to, get down to the things you like doing. So, I'm going to be using a vest brush here. And again, she's got a beautiful head. We've given her a great haircut.
Thank you.
So for me, I just want to use the head as the molding surface. So we're just going to quickly put this shape in.
So Ricardo, do you call this wrap drying?
I call this wrap drying, absolutely.
And if you're watching at home, this is a great, it can be used as just kind of a pre-dry if you're then going to do round brushing or curling. It's a great way to use the head as a roller. Literally, the head is like a giant roller and you're creating direction and movement and stretching the hair out. Now for these precision type of cuts, it's a great way to just dry the hair so you can see how to refine it. Perhaps then go in and do some flat ironing. The type of brush that Ricardo's using is called a Vess brush, V-E-S-S. We do have those available on Hairbrain Pro. It's kind of the choice of most precision hair cutters, I have to say. What makes this one nice is it's got little balls on the ends of the bristles. So with all that back and forth thing, it's actually gentle on the scalp. Sometimes when they don't have balls on the ends of the bristles,
be a little aggressive.
It can be a little aggressive. So again, it's a great one. Now this move here, Ricardo, can you explain that?
Sort of leafing to kind of give it that beveled look that you want in the hair. So you're kind of like taking your brush, you're kind of locking it in, just to increase the amount of tension that you get. That's kind of like one of the tricks in using these vest brushes is to kind of see, I'll just do it slowly, you kind of come in. It's like a slight, like sort of backward movement in order to pick that section up.
You know,
it's also a great way to get volume too.
We say it's like turning a page in a book.
Yeah.
We called it leafing, so it's like leafing through a book. If you watch Ricardo's fingers, and it's just that little movement there to get tension and control. So obviously Ricardo's going to keep wrapping and leafing here.
You can see how quickly that dried there.
Talk again about this product. So
it's made with it's made with sugar beet. And basically what it does is it's kind of creating a surface on the hair that just makes the water sort of wick off, if I could say that. And we're all incredibly surprised at how well it works because, this is kind of like, we're like, oh, we're going to cut down your blow dry time by half. You're like, really? Because that's a lot of extra cutting time I'll be able to have. And, the hair cutters out there, I know you guys, I know the hair-brained audience, we all probably fight for more time behind the chair to be able to refine our lines. So this is just a great. So again, you can just see how quickly it just pops in there.
So tons of love coming in for Aveda and the new products, and you, Ricardo, a little bit from me too. Thank you. If you're just joining us, we are at the 40th anniversary of Aveda. It's their big congress. It's something that happens about every 2 years. We're the global tribe of salons that use Aveda, and we all know that those are the A-level salons. Some of the best salons in the world, the best hairdressers, the best run businesses, they all come together here for what's called a congress. It was started by Horst many, many years ago as a place to kind of bring the tribe together. We've had great presentations from incredible artists like Ricardo and Ian Michael Black and Lee Watson, of course Antoinette Beavers, Tatum Neal, someone who was fresh on the stage this year, John Raymond, the Chavello group from Canada, a group from Asia,
the Aveda Jam.
the Aveda Jam. So it's a great event. It's been over 2 days here. And yesterday we did a Facebook Live here with Lupe Voss. So for those of you, a lot of people are asking about color. Just go back in the feed a little bit and you'll see we did the same exact thing with Lupe. She colored 2 different models. Today we grabbed my good buddy, my ombre, Ricardo Dennis. Yeah, you know, let me tell you guys something out there. In this industry, it's all about relationships, you know? And the relationships that you form in the beginning of your career are the ones that are going to shape your career. I can promise you that. Someone like Rachel, she just graduated from school.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of shout outs from your friends
goodness,
from school.
thank you.
Those relationships
That's awesome.
are what's going to bring you opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a corporation where you go with a resume and you get interviews. It's really much more the people that you know, that you work with, that you trusted, and you've earned their trust. So that's my best advice to you. If you want to be successful like this man, find the right mentors, find the right people to work with, and make real relationships. That's where it comes from. All right, let's get back to the haircut. Ricardo,
Just finishing the blow dry.
you know, I was nervous, as I always am when we do Facebook Lives, about blow drying, because obviously it's noisy and it can take a really long time. And Ricardo said, don't worry,
I got
I'll be
this."
done in the speed of light.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be using this on every Facebook Live from now on, because
Talk
you really...
about promo.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Well, you really, this is dried off really quickly, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
this is also, you know, some bleached out hair. So this is some pretty porous hair, guys. We all know how long this generally can take. So that's just, you know, it's not thin hair we're working with here. She's got a good abundance here.
All right, as you finish up the blow dry, Ricardo, let's talk a little bit about social media, because, you know, me and you, we've been around a long time, but I think we figured out early that to keep building those relationships that I just talked about, you really need social media, you need content. Now, you've really started to develop a look, and I know your work, I know the content immediately. You guys can see it on our feed, you can see it at Ricardo Dennis, or you can also see it featured very often at Aveda Artist, which is a new page where all this great content that's coming in from Aveda artists around the world is being curated. And Ricardo, talk a little bit about content, your photography, and about how you're using Instagram.
So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was kind of, let's say, a little hesitant, I guess, in the beginning of Instagram and finding my place, I guess. And I think, you know, my advice for you guys is, I think sometimes we come on and we don't know who to be. And that's a really tricky thing, I think, to sort of find yourself in this social media world. So I wanted to kind of come at it from a perspective of sort of morals. I wanted to be creating really beautiful work. I wanted to sort of be true to me. And so I kind of looked at this skill set and thought, this is not just about posting. This is a craft that you also have to learn. And social media is evolving right now. And I think, you know, before for hairdressers, it was good enough to be able to, you know, understand how to cut, color, recruit your guests. But I think the skill set now is absolutely thinking about photography, thinking about what your place is in the visual world, you know. We're all influencers, every single person, you know, that's working in this industry, in your own salon or back at home. You know, you all have a role to play in this, and I think just kind of thinking about your own work and what you want to say. And for me, it was just like, I'm just going to develop what I like to do, and then I started shooting my own pictures, and it was kind of a process of kind of learning and making some mistakes, as of course, as always. But I think it's a skill set that, people should learn.
All right, so obviously getting into a really sexy part of the haircut,
Yeah.
the refining.
Yep.
So let's talk about what you see and what you're going for here, and give us some tips on how to work on this dry finish.
So I'm just, cutting the line. So I think the idea of just slowly pushing those blades back as you cut is just going to, help to make sure that you can cut some of the denser parts of the hairline. The other really great trick is to come through with kind of like a point cutting or sort of chipping on the outline, which can help diffuse the line. It also helps to take away just some of the added weight in there. And just imagine as your blades come through, they have their limitations in terms of how much they can cut. So imagine like trying to take a couple sections of paper, and trying to cut it with a scissor. You'll find that the amount of tension makes it very, very difficult. Right? So, thinking about how you use those blades. And a line is a bunch of different techniques put together. That's what I think. And I think sometimes people just, we just think it's just that. It's not.
Awesome. Lots of love coming in. Tons of viewers out there. If you're just joining us, I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain community. I'm here with my good buddy Ricardo Dinis, who is the global haircutting director for Veda. We are at a Veda Congress. We've been here for a month. No, it's actually 3 days. But when you come to these events, it's like all encompassing. I know you had some 18-hour days.
Yeah. We started yesterday at 2:30 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning. So let's talk a little bit. I know there's lots of people out there that obviously they're loving your work. You're getting all this great stuff.
Great.
But I'm sure a lot of them are wondering, like, hey, how can I be the next Ricardo Dinis? What would be some advice if someone's out there and they're hungry and they're passionate and they want to be globally recognized as a brilliant hair cutter? What would your advice to them be? That's not.
No, it's not.
In 5 words or less.
Yeah. I said this yesterday actually on stage, and I think it's a simpler one than I think most people. I could say, find a mentor. That's a great set of advice right there. I think the big thing is you can be, amazing in your salon. And I tell people this all the time. I think my success actually came when I moved into an area that a lot of people thought I was kind of crazy. I had a very established career. And I actually made the move to go to Spain. And I kind of wanted to have this opportunity, one, to work in another country. I wanted to test my skills somewhere else. I wanted the growth. And in Madrid, I kind of, how can I say this? I found, just to the side for me, sweetie, thank you. I found that the most important thing was to just put the person that you're working on just directly in front of you. And what I mean by that is that there's no one else in the room. And I think when people are working on guests, the thing to get you to that successful point is really your clients and your guests. So my advice is to just be amazing with what you've got in front of you. Don't think about, other things. Keep your eye on the ball, I guess. If that makes sense. I think that to me is like just good career advice, because I think you can make a bang anywhere right now. I don't think you have to move to another country now. I think that actually, you could be in Spain, you could be in Canada, you can be in Alaska, and be successful and be amazing. Of course, practice your skill set, take classes. I'm one who's always practicing. Always feels new to me.
So Ricardo, I've noticed, technically that you've used the scissor in lots of different ways, and you've held it in the comb.
Yep.
So is all of this, is that pre-planned, or is it just you reacting to the hair?
It's me reacting to the hair, also thinking about how I'm cutting the second side and how I have to compensate because of the direction that I'm having to go in. And so what's really key for me is to nail this length in the front. And so on the other side, it feels like there's a bit of an easier flow for me to get in with my scissor, and then just doing something like that and just coming through just helps to, put the line in, and then you can just come back through
Now, let's
do a
talk a
little
little bit about
sketching.
how you hold your scissor, because
It's
I
a
think,
pencil.
Yeah, sure. Can you just take a moment to, because you've got a very specific way that I think gives you a lot of maneuverability.
Yeah, so
if you could take a second to show everyone, and then again talk about scissors, because people are asking.
So your motion is, absolutely in your wrist, and then the other part is just your fingers and your dexterity there. And so, the thumb doesn't, you don't want the thumb or your fingers going totally into the blade. And I would just say this is kind of like the method that, if this was a paintbrush or a pencil, you kind of want the extension to be at the very fingertips, and I think that's kind of like the point that we're all trying to get to, is like once the scissor becomes the very edges of your fingers, it now feels like you can just maneuver it all this way.
Would you say that's kind of a main takeaway, not to bury those fingers?
Even put like rubber bands or tape or something like that, just to kind of get away from the habit of feeling like they all kind of need to fit in there.
The truth is, some of the advice that I give people is when you are buying a scissor and you're paying good money for it, it should fit you like jewelry.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy $1,000 scissor that you need to put tape on, in all honesty, you should say to those people, do you have a scissor like this with smaller rings?
Yeah.
Because really, you're buying an expensive piece of jewelry that actually is going to earn you money.
Absolutely.
So finding, they come in different sizes, the thumb and the third finger hole. So find the right size for you.
I've been handed like the most expensive shears and be like, no, I can't cut with these. They don't fit.
Right.
They don't give me the dexterity. So it's so personal. Okay. And so here I'm kind of using like the lip on both sides of the face is kind of like the area I kind of want to hit. So we'll just do that.
So again, guys, we're backstage here, so there's models in the background here. We're at a Veda Congress. There's photo shoots going on, so we apologize for any background noise, but I know you guys are loving this because there's nothing but love for beautiful model Rachel, from all our friends that tuned in, and Ricardo, all his friends all over the world, and I'm sure you're making a lot of new friends today. If people want to follow you, where should they go? I put it up in the feed before, but why don't you give a shout out?
So it's just my handle is Ricardo Dinis, so it's RICARDO, last name DINIS, and it's just me with a picture like this.
Yeah, very handsome, dapper.
There you go.
He'll melt your camera, don't worry.
So right now I'm gonna point through these edges, and so one of the things I loved about her hair, and this is a good sort of takeaway as well about, when we're changing people, that sometimes it's just about looking at like what was my favorite element in her haircut. It was really like the front. I loved the way these guys just kind of winged out. And so I love that kind of stuff. And you can see now that the underneath is kind of beveling, but that layer now is giving us this really beautiful kick. And, just as a trend for you to sort of like start thinking about, there's a lot of stuff that's happening out this way. You're seeing some fashion shows right now. I know J.W. Anderson did these bobs that were just kind of like flicked out. I think that's super beautiful. I love the idea of like, even just tucking the hair behind the ears and just having it sit in quite nicely. And it's just again about taking these techniques and ideas, and if you can't use them on a guest, it sometimes feels a little pointless, I guess. And I think you can do interesting work that's super sexy and beautiful, and that clients will come in and wear.
Well, I think, we were talking a little bit before how I always know Ricardo Dinis image because of the photography, the way that he's doing that, but it's also the work because there's strength and softness in equal proportions. And I don't think you're going for like the shock factor when you cut hair.
No,
and there's nothing wrong with that. For some people, it totally works, but that's just not your thing.
Yeah, I want to capture absolute beauty. Like that to me is like where I want to go. I don't want people to go, holy, what did this guy just do? It's more about taking the person that I have in my chair. So if she wants a mullet and that's her personality, I will give her, the most beautiful mullet. If someone wants a really strong bang, then I'll do that. So to me, it's less about my taste and more about making that person beautiful.
Now, do you always feel you have to go in and point cut at the end like this, or is it a case
not
by
always.
case?
No, not always. I mean, I'm not going to do any on the underneath. It's really just for this top area. And so we're just taking that, just to make it a little looser and fun. I think texturizing could be a great thing, and I think it could be a terrible thing. I think sometimes we just kind of revert to over texturizing things because we'll say, oh, I just want it, to be much lighter. But I think, hair needs structure. Hair needs, weight in order for it to work. How's that looking?
It's looking beautiful. Everyone's really complimenting and saying it's just a perfect cut for her, and super, super happy. Ricardo, we've had some questions about scissor sharpening.
Great texture there.
What are your thoughts on scissor sharpening? Do you
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding.
that is, there is a philosophy there. A lot of people believe that, you buy that scissor and you ride it out for as long as you can and then you get a new one. What do you do?
Well, I think I don't sharpen mine that often. That is the truth. I think that your shears can last quite a bit of time. You got to find a really good scissor sharpener. That's a whole skill set right there. So
here's something that I learned because, through Hairbrain Pro, which is our online tool store, we wanted to start to offer sharpening. And I had a good friend, he's a motorcycle mechanic, and he could fix Ducatis and all this stuff. And I said, well, I'm going to send him to get some training to become a sharpener. And what I learned was 1 5-hour training to become a sharpener is not going to cut it. It's like being a hairdresser. It's the way that if you're creative and comes, oh, you should be a hairdresser. It's going to take years.
Yeah, it's not just some thing you pick up in a weekend.
And scissor sharpening, I want to elevate it to that level and say it's like hair cutting. A great sharpener has spent years apprenticing, learning, training. Yeah. So that's where you kind of have to be mindful. So those are you guys that are looking for, we don't have any specific sharpener. When I do like sharpening, I work with Infinity in LA. You can send your scissors in, they send them back. Our scissors that we offer on Hairbrain Pro are warranted by Infinity, the HB Pro scissor. So that's who we use currently. But just go out and find someone who's got great experience. All right, let's get back to this haircut. It's all coming together beautifully. So take it away for us, Ricardo.
Well, I just, I'm loving her hair, so that's worked out great. I haven't cut her hair before, so it's always nice to. I'm really in love with the finish here. So again, I just want to go back through, get my lines extra crispy, and then I love the contrast of having something a little stronger on the underneath. So I get, that satisfaction of cutting a nice, clean line, and then also, the play with some of this stuff, which I think is just
beautiful,
really pretty.
And I'm sure we'll be taking some pictures here because Ricardo is he's a content machine.
There we go.
So we'll get some great finished pictures and we'll make sure we put it up in the feed, and I'm sure Ricardo will want to feature those as well. I want to thank you all for tuning in and joining us. I want to thank Aveda. They've had us here all weekend working with these brilliant artists at their 40th anniversary Congress. We're backstage right now, so we apologize for the noise, but we wanted to bring you this great up-close experience with Ricardo. Looks like you're doing some finishing touches, Ricardo.
I've literally just put some Smooth Infusion style prep, which is actually it's actually more of a blow-dry product, but I think for Rachel's hair, it's just going to add just a little bit of moisture, without it getting too waxy or too greasy. But I just love, kind of got this really lovely kind of effect happening with the edges. I'm really happy with the shape.
Yeah. You want to stand up for us, Rachel? Say hello to all your friends who've been watching. Did you have a great time at Congress?
I had an amazing time, and I will definitely be back in 2 years.
Right on.
I'm so inspired.
Awesome. Ricardo, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Guys, wait till you see what we do for Halloween. We've got a little plan there. So be sure to follow Gerard Scarpacci on Instagram, Ricardo Dennis on Instagram, and of course Hairbrain Official, and of course Aveda. And they've got a great new page called Aveda Artist on Instagram, which is a new place where they're curating from the community. So peace out, guys. We'll be coming to you real soon from another fun location.